Win the incredible Steigercraft 21DB Miami, powered by a Yamaha 200, in the ultimate season-long multiple species subscriber-only fishing competition, the Fisherman's 2017 Dream Boat Fishing Challenge. Go to thefisherman.com and enter today. The Fishing News is brought to you by Okuma and The Reel Seat at 707 Union Avenue in Brielle. Gear up for June sharking with Reel Seat shark rigs, big game hooks, floats, wire leader, and tournament essentials for mako and thresher action.
Hard to believe that it's the 4th of July already. And by all accounts, it should be a good one here at the Jersey Shore. I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. Of course, the July edition is out. It's in newsstands. It's in your subscribers' hands. And of course, it's also in tackle shops like this one, Avalon Hodge Podge down here in Avalon. I mentioned that. Make sure you pick it up. There's a good article in there from Captain John Uncart on yellowfin action. And by all accounts, the yellowfin action is shaping up to be an epic season with the bite that we're getting from some of those southern canyons. The Avalon Invitational is going on this week. Avalon Hodge Podge is a way station for this tournament. It's got about 22 boats. It's the first annual event. It's the first event of the Avalon Invitational that's open to the public. You'll want to be sure to look for this one in the future. Joe Sears was one of the biggest fish weighed in so far, 56¼ pounder this week. He was fishing with Scott Weil. Tammy says the Baltimore and the Washington are both producing about best. We're still waiting for a few weigh-ins. This Avalon Invitational is going on through the end of the week. You know, 56¼ pounds. We find out that Joe Sears is probably going to be on the Dreamboat leaderboard. Joe is a Fisherman subscriber. You folks that are out there for yellowfin, don't forget 50 pounds is the minimum to get yourself on the board with a yellowfin tuna in the Dreamboat leaderboard. So at least we finally got what I hope to be our first Dreamboat weigh-in on yellowfin. Yellowfin, bigeye, of course, the bluefin bite has been great. Canyon Runner says they've been getting it done. Adam let me know that they've been fishing a lot of trips out of the Spencer Canyon, working 300 to 500 fathoms, where they're loading up on all 3 species of tuna. They say the Canyon Runner 6-inch squid bars, the mini mamba bars, and the red-brown Canyon Runner dredge working out quite well. Washington, Baltimore, getting those reports from the Spencer, and it's only a matter of time before the Lindy starts turning on, and then of course the Hudson. I do expect we're going to have a great bite on the yellowfin throughout the month of July, so make sure you get out there, get your updated SAT service, and also keep an eye out on the weather. Saturday and Sunday looks decent enough. Sunday looks like the better day, but we should have some good opportunities to get offshore in the next several days through the July 4th holiday. You might also want to think about a deep drop for tile fish. Some folks have been getting out there on the tile fishing grounds, like Mike Young here from Peace Token over in Cape May Courthouse. He was out on the Cape May Lady. Some boats, like the Jamaica up out of Brielle, they're running a weekly or a monthly schedule, or weekly schedule, no, that's right, once a week. They're running out on the offshore grounds for tile fish, so you might want to check that out, the big Jamaica's schedule. Of course, up in that area, Shark Week just came to an end, right at Manasquan Inlet. The 2 big tournaments, Mako Fever and Mako Mania. Congratulations to the crew of Thor. Doug and Chris Thorson and crew had a 276-pound Mako that earned them the win in both of those tournaments this past weekend with the weigh-ins at Captain Bill's Landing. Shark attention, of course, maybe moving to the inshore grounds. Talking with Dave and Tammy here, they're telling me that they're starting to get that night bite. You know, you've got those brown sharks and also those sand tigers, and that night bite is going on throughout, all along the Jersey coast. Now, these particular tournaments, Mako Fever and Mako Mania, raised money for reef building efforts, and there's a brand new Manasquan Inlet Reef just about 1.5 miles outside of Manasquan. A couple of weeks ago got some concrete rubble, and also this week had a brand new ship deployment. They're going to continue to put new materials on that Manasquan Reef. So while it might take a while for it to pick up everything it needs to get tog and black sea bass, you might want to go for a sneaky little structure bet, because you know that some of those big doormat fluke are going to be hiding behind the structure at some point. We are starting to get some more big fluke on the structure, like up at the Raritan Bay, off the Navy Pier. That's where Tom Driscoll had this 9.5 pounder that he weighed in over at Fisherman's Den North. Another Dreamboat fish. Of course, Tom is a subscriber. He was using squid, bucktail, and a glass minnow on the teaser. Love that tsunami glass eel, or glass minnow. Definitely worth looking at for that. Here's a guy who can't weigh in a Dreamboat weigh a fish this year, Tony Maja, an advertiser of the Fisherman magazine, but he scored a 9-pounder in Barnegat Bay this week on a bucktail and gulp combo. No, it wasn't a spoonfish. You know, Tony uses things different than spoons, but he had a nice fish here. So there's definitely some big fish still in the back bays. Talking to Dave and Tammy here at Avalon Hodge Podge. The keepers are starting to get a little bit tougher to come by as that water temperature warms up. Those big fluke are going to go into the deeper water. So it's only a matter of time down here in South Jersey especially where some of those fish move out to some of the bigger structure. Also some spike weak fish around still down here in South Jersey, and also for folks that are drifting for fluke in places like Barnegat Bay, like Joseph K. Mitchell, who checked in with Lacey Marine recently, had it on a fluke rig. Although I do know some guys like Dave DeGennaro of High Flyer. He's going to start running some trips grass shrimping for weak fish. I know it's only a 1-fish bag limit, but when Dave is putting those grass shrimp out there, it's like a potpourri of action with all kinds of different species. Another great bait, especially for doormats, spot. My grandfather used to call them Cape May goodies, those little Lafayettes, but those live spot make great bait, especially if you're taking them out to the structure, like the old grounds. That's where some folks are already starting to fish. Joe Jr. calls those spot-tastic. It's the way he responded to Absecon Dave over there at Absecon Sportsman Center. We are starting to get some reports, though, of the old ground starting to produce some fish. That comes to us from Rick's down in Delaware, and he said that Dave Burgess had come in from Maryland, checked in a 9-pounder while bucktailing at the old grounds. Of course, we're starting to get some of those sheep's head reports as well. I know some folks here in South Jersey, tight-lipped, are starting to get some of those sheep's head, but we are starting to get some sheep's head down in the Delaware coast as well. Gavin German, he checked into Hookham and Cookham, had this sheep's head on a sand crab over at the Indian River Inlet. Sand crab makes a great bait. I've used them in the past for tog along the jetties. I know some of the guys in Delaware, they'll drift sand crabs right along the inlets for striped bass. In that July edition, pick it up, Nick Konicheski. He's got an article about fishing for pompano, which could start showing up here along these South Jersey beaches sometime this month. He's using clam, he'll use squid on a high-low rig, a pompano rig, but also some of those sand fleas also make a great bait for those pompano when they come in as well. As far as the beach goes, my July 4th holiday weekend is going to be spent with a backpack, a tackle tray in there with some bucktails and jig heads, some gulp, of course, you can't go without the gulp, put the gulp in there as well, and a soft cooler bag to carry around some ice. Great opportunity to get out there and catch some fluke in the wash. Make sure you bring a tape measure because you're going to get a lot of fish on a lot of times. Once you find where they're sitting, a lot of fish, but finding the keepers sometimes difficult. If you're on the inshore grounds this weekend, folks, keep an eye out for the bunker. There's still a few striped bass making their way through those bunker schools, and I'm surprised that we haven't heard more of those inshore threshers crashing through as well. Although, if you saw the video that emerged from Raritan Bay last week, it was on all the news channels, that giant humpback coming up and crashing through a school of bunker right behind those fishermen. Here's a photo maybe you haven't seen. It's from Captain Nelson on Roman Round Charters. He was on the Raritan recently, sent us this shot of himself, a charter, and a very special visitor that came up through the bunker school as well. Inshore, offshore, lake streams, or along the beaches, July 4th, according to our founding fathers, was a time to celebrate. It's all about celebrating. So do it early, do it often, catch them up. God bless the USA, and we will see you again next week here at thefisherman.com.
Win the incredible Steigercraft 21 DB Miami, powered by a Yamaha 200, in the ultimate season-long multiple species subscriber-only fishing competition, the Fisherman's 2017 Dream Boat Fishing Challenge. Go to thefisherman.com and enter today. The Fishing News is brought to you by Okuma and the Reel Seat at 707 Union Avenue in Brielle. Gear up for June sharking with Reel Seat shark rigs, big game hooks, floats, wire leader, and tournament essentials for Mako and Thresher action.